Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball, presented to you by SeatGeek, code Talkin10. My name, Jake Storielli. That is Trevor Plouffe. Rob Sirocco producing as we leak towards the new year. It's December 18th. We were going through how many regular season eps we got left. It's scary, Coach, and I'm sure we're gonna have some breaking news and stuff along the way. But we're in holiday season mode. I'm mapping out trains to get back home. I'm lining up the local YMCA day pass to get my buckets up while I'm on the road. How are you doing, Trev?
So many things. First of all, disrespect to Greg Counsell. My goodness.
Yeah.
He's at least top 4 in the NL Central.
Easy.
Today we decided to go outfit, like Halloween outfit. We went with the F-boy Hollywood loser look. I don't know how this happened. If you're watching on or listening on the podcast version, we got hooded sweatshirts and the hat that every quote-unquote F-boy wears. Yeah. But I like mine. Shout out Cooper Kupp and Anna Kupp.
Wow.
Yeah, supporting. 2024 is out. 2025 is in. There's some good stuff to talk about today. I actually reached out to a good buddy of mine about this Jeff Passan / MLB pitching injury article or research paper, and I had some good insight from him, so I'm excited to share that with the people. Kind of Trevor's tidbits all over again. That was just a great time in life when that was going on.
It's time for Trevor's tidbits.
We're back with that a little bit, but yeah, man, things are going good over here. Puppies still keep me up at night, so I don't look great. I look like a vampire kind of right now, but that's all right.
Wow. I've got some more questions about that. We might have to circle back to the end of the show. And Trev, I started laughing midway, and for everyone on the YouTube watching us in our F-boy fits with the hoodies and the hats, that's a Cooper Kupp hat?
Yeah, this is his coffee brand.
Because if you'll recall, the hat I'm wearing is a Jake Cronenworth hat. So we're losers. we
support our guys, okay?
We support our guys. You're right. You're right. We're ride or die, bro. We're not losers. My Yankees aren't losers as of now. They made the Cody Bellinger trade that was rumored, and it almost hit the point of it was so rumored that it was like, is this gonna go down? So we could talk about that a little bit. The Orioles brought in a pitcher who might have a massive impact on next season. We want to talk about that, and like you said, Jeff Passan continues his pilgrimage or thesis of trying to get to the bottom of this pitching problem. And I don't know. I just had a moment of glimmer for him that clearly brother Jeff cares about this so much that he's hoping to be part of the solution at this point, which is nice because that's so optimistic or filled with dreams and hope that I don't even have that anymore.
Getting into it, he basically is it's a bottomless pit here. I think he started out with dreams and hopes and is just I got you. He's letting the darkness down. He's like, I can't find the bottom.
He's letting the darkness kick in, and that's where I've kind of been on that whole topic. But it's obviously one of the biggest stories in the sports. And are we going to see the contending teams each year have 10 starting pitchers and which 3 make it to the final? Because we've kind of seen that. The Texas Rangers and the Dodgers both had that. Trev, let's talk about America's team. Craig Counsell's Cubs and the New York Yankees get the trade done. The Codys, people aren't talking about that. Cody Poteet for Cody Bellinger and some cash. And speaking of, it's all brought to you by the DraftKings Sports Book. Grab your favorite team's jersey and some snacks. Head to the couch for another Sunday of action-packed football. Man, I have been crushing the football Sundays. And get even closer to the action each Sunday with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you use code TALKIN. And don't forget to stay in on the action and use $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TALKIN. That's promo code TALKIN only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Coach Trev, the Yankees placed the belly bet, going from Kyle Tucker to the Cubbies, to Bellinger, and it's where is his value at with his current contract? And I mean, we essentially come to find out this trade is a little bit of a salary dump. I mean, the Cubs are even throwing in $5 million for the next 2 potential seasons of Bellinger, 2.5. And Cody Poteet goes back. Cody Poteet's pitched in Major League games, but he's kind of been a quad A guy. Call him up when you need a spot start or something like that. But yeah, this had been rumored for a while. Cody Bellinger's dad played for the Yankees. I have a story about that I think is going to blow your mind. But the Yankees needed outfield, first base, and lefty, and they hit all the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll start with the Yankees side. Yeah, great. I think it's a great signing by the Yankees. And I don't care what his value is relative to his contract. I don't think that should even really factor in right now with the Yankees. They just need good players on the field, figure out the money stuff later. You're right. He checks all the boxes. And I think that's one reason why he is desirable for, even if you want to bring the money into it, I think he is desirable for that contract because he offers you flexibility. And now you're not locked into one move. If he was just an outfielder, just a left fielder, or even if he was a center fielder, then okay, you had to go get either a second baseman or a first baseman or a third base. Like, he allows you to now pick from a bunch of different guys. Yeah, if you want him at first base, okay, then you don't have to go after a first baseman. You can still go after a left fielder. Like, he still offers that. You can put him in the outfield. I think the versatility of Cody Bellinger maybe is where the most value lies. We know he can play. His defense kind of took a hit in the outfield last year, but I think he's very much a serviceable outfielder. And especially if you put him in center and Judge in right, like, it's going to be a defensive upgrade for the New York Yankees. First base, I think he's got all the tools there. Big, tall guy scooping the ball over there. So I think in that regard, I really, really like it for the Yankees. I think now it's what's next. There's a bunch of different rumors about Paul Goldschmidt. Like I said, there's still some outfielders out there if they want to go that route as well. Where do you plug Jazz Chisholm in? I think that's why Jazz Chisholm was so enticing for Yankee fans because, hey, we didn't know he could really play third base, but last year, wasn't too bad, but he can also play second base. And so, they have, I think that's where my mind goes now, is they have just a ton of options to continue to upgrade their team because I don't think they're done, and they shouldn't be done. I think there's still maybe at least one, possibly 2 moves on the offensive side of the ball that they need to make here. So the versatility of him and Jazz Chisholm just opens up the board for them because, there's only so many free agents out there, but now they can look other ways, via trade. And it's just, to me, for the Yankees, it was always a fit, and here we are. Now he's on the team.
Yeah, the flexibility is massive, and it's for the offseason and when the season gets here. That
sure.
You mentioned Belly in center, Judge in right, which that very well could be what happened. And let's see what goes on. They have Jasson Dominguez, the Martian, center, the big prospect, and For me,
are we ever going to see him just play? I just don't get it.
Hey, Jasson Dominguez is still 21. So I'm tough on how the Yankees handle some of their prospects. Dominguez is still a kid. So they have time to get that right. I think what's interesting, and it's I don't know, it's always this is a good baseball conversation. I think center field truly is easier to play than left field. That Jasson Dominguez has played a lot more center field. That, hey, if you're going to call this kid up and have him be a part of your future, and it's an expansive Yankees left field, do you surround him with Belly in left and Judge in right? Because those are 2 pretty good insurance policies to each side. Or, like you said, Belly can play a really good center field, and hey, Dominguez, we want you to figure out left field for the next 6 years, so just go and do it. Or do they keep Dominguez waiting? And you'll hear me get mad about how the Yankees handle prospects, because if another outfielder becomes available, the Yankees can push that button. And I think that is the best part of this move, that, hey, if Alex Bregman wants to be a Yankee and his market is around there, you can put him at third base. Jazz goes to second. And then if you want to bring in a veteran first baseman, there's been Paul Goldschmidt rumors that like him and young Ben Rice, who got a taste last year, that might be a good old man in the sea type deal. So this gives the Yankees their next move. They have the flexibility to kind of get whatever fits the best and not risk their future years. Like the Yankees were close to finishing a deal with Christian Walker, we heard. And again, there's no shots fired at Christian Walker, but if he gets a 3-year deal, that's going to take him to age 37 or so. That the Yankees leave themselves the chance for their next move to get the right fit for this team. While the Chicago Cubs, now things get interesting for me, Coach Trev, because that's a lot of money coming off the book. I love that our guy Pete Crow Armstrong is gonna get some looks and a chance to play. But now that Cubs it was kind of the funny thing of this Cody Bellinger, the Cubs want to move off Cody Bellinger. Well, he was in the heart of their lineup. Cody Bellinger played really solid ball last year. That the bottom of their lineup right now is listed as Nico Horner, who there was some trade rumors about him. Matt Shaw, who supposedly was supposed to be the Nico Horner replacement, but now he might be the third base replacement for Paredes. And then Miguel Amaya, who, catcher is a catcher to a certain degree. But that bottom of the lineup gets a little thinner, and the meaty part of the lineup got a little less meaty, that I wonder what's next for our Cubbies. And when we've wondered that, sometimes we've ended up in the bad place because there hasn't been a next. But Trev, this is real money coming off the books.
Yeah, well, they're going to do something. You don't bring Kyle Tucker over for a year,
right,
and then say, all right, let's subtract. Like they're going to reallocate the salary towards whatever they need, and they better. If they don't, then if you're a Cubs fan, you just give them a fat "what is you doing, baby?" So, yeah, I was on the train of them keeping Belly. I was like, why do you want to let's just keep all the good players that we can. If you have a log jam, we used to call that depth. That's okay to have more than enough good players on your team, right?
Nice. Bruce Bochy Trev coming out. Yeah, I love that.
It's true, though. I don't know why teams are always trying to thread the needle. We have to make sure this guy has playing time. I'm okay, how about you figure it out. Just have enough good players. The Dodgers do that all the time, right? Dude. We just talked about what they do with their pitching staff. They want as many good players as possible. They'll figure the playing time out, okay? You can do that. But now, how much are they saving a year? 23?
I think it should be around 22, 23, yes.
Okay, then that you need to reallocate that to maybe a high leverage reliever. And maybe bring in, I don't know. There's a lot of talk about, what they're going to do with their infield. If they're going to bring up their prospect, if Bush is going to go to third base for a time. I hear Cubs fans say, no, he can't do that. So I'm interested to see what they end up doing there. But yeah, they have to reallocate that salary. And if they do it right, then I'm okay with the move. But if they swing and miss on some of these free agents, or they don't pull the trigger on a trade, and they just kind of have that money for maybe a mid-season acquisition, then I don't really like it for them. Cody Bellinger is a very good Major League Baseball player. I feel like people are undervaluing him a ton. Now, is he 2000, when did he win the MVP? 2018 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
is he on that level? Ago. No, but he's still a very, very valuable, a 3 to 4 win player. I don't know, man. Cubbies, you had me at Kyle Tucker. You lost me a little bit with this trade. Let me see what you do with the money. I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Right, because maybe they didn't lose you with this trade, but you need to see the next step. The Yankees clearly have more work to do, and this was kind of on their working list. It was get Soto. Okay, we missed on Soto. Let's get another stud. We got Max Fried. All right, let's get Belly, and now we need to supplement the lineup more, maybe move our pitching around. We've talked about that. For the Cubbies, it truly is what's next, because, God, they can they have a very fun roster.
They got a ton of starting pitching.
They have pitching. They have a ton of defense. Like, sure, some of these guys can hit, but man, when you look around and Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, PCA,
love that.
Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, that, like, I wonder third base. And the other thing is, dude, they have prospects on the way, so there's a chance with these Cubs. Like, their guy, Alcantara, he's a top prospect. I think he's another outfield guy. Matt Shaw is supposed to be on the way. That, like, I guess that is the interesting next piece for these Cubbies. Because, Trev, everything you're saying could be true. And, like, they were a sneaky Corbin Burns team for me. Like, wow, they would really enter the conversation if they did something like that. Now their lineup has a couple question marks that it's which direction do you go looking at that. But maybe, I mean, Trev, wouldn't it be a massive win if they kind of took that money and, like, figured out the Kyle Tucker extension with it?
That should not factor into this year.
Okay.
They need bullpen help. Okay, let's do a little, I want to see where your head's at. If they took this $25 million, right? And right. I think what I'm reading now, they're still like $50 million under the first competitive balance tax.
Sure.
Let's just say they took that money and they signed Tanner Scott and another high leverage reliever. I don't know who else is out there right now. Added 2 like bullpen weapons to their team.
Right.
You happy as a Cubs fan? Belly out, 2 high leverage relievers? I think you are. Because I think that's kind of their biggest need as a Cubs fan is we need guys that can shut games down. They were really bad in that regard last year.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're piecemealing that bullpen a little bit. There's a lot of guys that you're like, they could give me a season. I could see it happening, but you're right. It's not the fear factor. Although I think Porter Hodge will be that guy and kind of was that guy last year as the closer, but everyone else, they've kind of been, and they've done a solid job of bringing in guys and tapping into something. But yeah, for me, that would feel still just like a little short. Like, the amount of money that you could do for a Tanner Scott and, I don't know, I'm trying to think who else is out there. Did Estevez sign? Like, but at the same time, when I do say that, you're Cubs do something that forms a team identity. Like, if you get those 2 bullpen guys, it's like, okay, there's going to be certain days that the Cubs pitch us and defense us to death. Like, we're just not going to do anything today. So give me a little bit more of an identity. As the listeners of this program know, and as they're clicking the subscribe button on YouTube, thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I would want to bring in at least another hitter of sorts, like
Pop.
I'm about that pop.
We love the Pop.
That, like, it's crazy that the top of their lineup, their first 4 hitters listed for next year, our guy Hap, our guy King Tuck, your guy Seiya, my guy Bush, they all hit over 20, but no one hit over 25. So again, it turns into one of those funky dynamics. Like, okay, if everyone's clicking, cool, but also if everyone's not clicking, where are we going? And hey, like I mentioned, Kyle Tucker did that in about half the games, so maybe that's just the answer. And man, they could do some fun stuff. I wonder if they could be in on Bregman. I doubt that. Could they be? Hey, we just dumped.
Don't do that. I like that move a lot.
We just dumped Belly. He would fit. I mean, Breggy would fit in with these guys.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, I've got one. This is both fan bases are going to absolutely hate this. So let me put it out there. The Jake special. Another guy that's been rumored as a salary dump. Nolan Arenado. How much would the Cards eat? And then it's like, hey, Nolan, you can hit 5th on this team. Our defense is silly. Our defense is silly. I don't know. Like, I don't see the Cubs doing that at all, but they have it laid out in front of them, and it's going to be interesting which young guys they lean into, and then, hey, Matt Shaw, Alcantara, your guy Moises Ballesteros might get the call behind the dish this year. Which of those young guys are they going to lean into? But you are right, with the Kyle Tucker trade, like, it was kind of the funny part of this ordeal. Okay, Cody Bellinger's out, and you got someone who can come in, sure, but all right, that means we've got cash to spend this year, and that can be a couple impact pieces in the pen. That could be one impact hitter. That could be a massive pitcher. That the Cubs, per usual, have us on the line. It's just, what's the next step?
I was going to say, first of all, I love Bregman there. I was going to say, give me Sean Manaea and Tanner Scott. Then I realized they have so many lefties that they just lean into it and say, screw it, we'll just mess with people. Because Craig Counsell, what is he? A lefty.
Manager.
Well, hitter. And he is the manager.
I know I opened the joke with that NL Central manager. I forgot Tito went there, and everyone just, because Tito's like the oldest, baddest dude on the block. Right. So, like, there was just an article where it was like, Tito's the number one.
Yeah, he's number one.
You know, there's an argument there. He's got the rings. He's Tito.
Pat Murphy, number 2.
Pat Murphy, I mean, him and Craig teed it up last year, and I don't know. Is Shelty still in Pittsburgh?
Shelty's 5, I think, yeah.
Yeah, we're waiting. Although he coached up Skeens fantastic last year. I loved what he did with Skeens
this is what he
last
did.
year.
Here you go, son.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And then your guy, Oli Marmol. So, okay, I think Craig's got an easy argument for top 3.
I like Oli Marmol. Shout out Katie Woo. She got a Cardinals podcast. Let's shout that out. Different network than ours. That's fine.
Saw AJ Pierzynski with a silly Cardinals hat on. Who doesn't like
Cardinals
that?
Territory. We like Katie Woo. She's the best. So shout that out.
Love Katie Woo. Arizona State Sun Devils forks up college football playoffs. That's gonna be fun. How you do it? No, you gotta.
Oh, it's a shocker.
Well, hold on now. I think if you space them out, I don't know the rules.
ASU, FSU seem like the same thing, but they're not.
No.
I've had this discussion a lot on this lately about FSU.
Yeah, what's with you in Florida State?
I don't know. I think I had some experiences when I was like playing the Florida State League.
Yeah. I think Florida State and Arizona State would say they're like collegiate cousins.
Ooh, I don't think Florida State would like that.
Really?
I think they're like more uppity, no? Am I wrong about this?
I think
I'm searching people.
I think Florida State wants Arizona State's party rep. I think.
Oh, I think they have it.
And Florida State, like, they've got national title rings, famous Jameis, all that stuff.
Guys, I'm a high school grad. Didn't go to college.
Not to flex on you, me too.
You don't have a college degree?
Hey, I do have a college degree. A science.
But you're also a high school grad.
Yes, I'm also a high school. Trev, before I want to talk Sugano and the Orioles a little bit. I want to talk these pitching injuries. Where do you think the Yankees go next? Because it's Goldschmidt, partial rumors. There's Christian Walker. There's Bregman. Is there one player that you like speaks more than another to you? Pete Alonso.
I would go first base. If I was them, I would go first base. I think I think Belly's got plenty of legs left under him. I think he can play the outfield. I think his athleticism, kid's kind of wasted at first base.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I think that's where I would look. But then, like, there still needs to be more. Like, who? And forgive me if I'm just screwing this up. Who's playing second base for the Yankees?
Well, that's going to be the next pivot point, because they're going to figure out between Belly, or if they bring in Goldschmidt, Carlos Santana, Christian Walker, Pete Alonso, like, there's options at first base. Like, that's going to figure itself out. Kind of the big question in Yankee land is, are they going to let Jazz play third, or are they going to have Jazz play second?
And then Kim.
There's been some
that a lot.
There's some interest
out,
there.
Passan Kim in. Knows that.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. If there's a defender playing better than Volpe out there, that becomes a whole like Italian mafia issue in the Bronx.
Cheater A-Rod.
And they still need a little bit of pop. I know that might sound like Yankee obnoxiousness, but Juan Soto hit 40 last year. The rest of their lineup was very thin in the playoffs. That they need a little more pop. If you could get Jazz at second and then like a third baseman, whether that is Bregman or someone off the board, because dude, if you bring in Breggy, like the Yankees play defense, and they give you good at bats. Like that's
as currently constructed with the moves: Max Fried, Devin Williams, Cody Bellinger,
right.
minus Juan Soto. Better or worse off?
It's interesting, isn't it, Coach?
I don't think they're done yet, so it's not fair to assess the offseason just yet, in my opinion. But
right. You need to see the rest of it.
Yeah,
you need to see the rest.
According to WAR, last year Juan Soto's still more valuable.
You need to see the rest of it.
But WAR is only convenient if it fits your argument.
Right. And are we still really talking baseball or national news? Why don't you guys go out and grab a Mountain Dew? You know what we all need more of? Get off your ass. Go outside. I know it's getting chilly. Who cares? Go on a nice walk. Grab a Mountain Dew. Go on one of those holiday walks. You know what I'm saying? Bold flavors and a refreshing citrus kick. Mountain Dew will get you off your rear and have you feeling like you're on an actual mountain. A mountain where the weather is always perfect. Your friends are ready to hang, and a day of epic proportions awaits. The mountain is calling. We're playing blitzball in the wares. Oh, and there it is. Parker Plouffe, the Mountain Doodle, if you will. Go and grab a Mountain Dew today. Ice cold wherever refreshing beverages are sold. The mountain is calling. Go do the dew. Wow, look at the... If you're not on our YouTube right now, I'm sorry. The King of the North has joined us. Yeah, Parker Plouffe.
Olivia's taking the kids to school, so now I gotta... This is Palmer, excuse me. And yeah, she is gonna hang with me for a little bit. I think I'm just gonna let her roam around. We'll see what happens. Just don't chew any wires.
Yeah,
she's a little shy right now. You're camera shy.
I didn't realize when you first told me Palmer, which I replaced with Parker. I thought that was a boy dog, but it's a lady dog.
Lady dog, yes.
I've never had a lady dog.
I've only had lady dogs.
Really? Look at that.
Yeah.
What a world. I guess slightly changing the tone. The Baltimore Orioles, who we were doing some, way too early winners and losers. I think we were just tightening the screws on our birds a little bit with this new ownership.
Justified.
In the window. Justified.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that show? That feels like a Trev show.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. They signed Tomoyuki Sugano. Last name kind of reminds me of Joey Logano, which I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but I am a big baseball guy. And Sugano, 35 years old, is one of these guys who has been a star overseas. We've seen him in World Baseball Classics. 1 year, $13 million. So, we're paying the price for a starting pitcher. He was your Central League MVP last year, 15-3 with a 1.67 ERA. The strikeout numbers aren't crazy, and the velo's not either. Sits kind of around 92. But he's one of these guys. He's got the pitch mix, and I mean, dude, after watching Imanaga, and Imanaga was supposed to be, we don't know if he's going to be anything, and he was one of the best pitchers last year. Heavy ground ball pitcher, which we like with the splitter. Again, Trev, I feel like we always say we're kind of guessing with these guys, but it feels like we're guessing less and less.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case anymore because I was reading an article about this last night. We share like StatCast information with the Japanese league. So it's your understand, like the data comes across, you're able to, sift through that, understand what kind of pitcher you're going to get. I think 1 year, $13 million for like any starter in the big leagues is a steal. Right. Now, you look at this guy's talent and what he's been able to do over there, and you look at his pitch mix. I think this is a great deal for the Baltimore Orioles. And they were talking about, why would this guy sign with Baltimore? It doesn't seem like the most likely landing spot for someone who wants to come over to the States and feel comfortable. It's not a huge Japanese population in Baltimore. But what they said was they had, basically like a Zoom call with him, and they just talked about pitching. And they had this great back and forth about just usage and what they wanted to do. He was going back and forth with them about, what do you want from me? Do you want me to be a strikeout guy? Do you want me to be an innings eater? And they just had this real rapport together, just talking ball, which I think is great. And they mentioned how cerebral he was, about, just the game in general. And then specifically like his pitch mix, what he tries to do, what he wants to do. You didn't mention this guy doesn't walk anybody, which is like, that's my thing. Take walks as a hitter, don't walk anybody as a pitcher. You got me for life. So I know that not every team necessarily was in the running, but I guess every team probably was in the running. The Orioles just talk ball with this guy, and they're able to convince him to come for 1 year. I think this is a great deal. Do I think this takes them out of the running for, a frontline starter? No, it better not. Like this can't be your answer to Corbin Burns leaving. But dude, to fill a rotation out with a guy like this, I think is incredible. If he just becomes, your fourth or fifth starter, I think you'll be very, very happy. Like the risk reward here plays in the Orioles' favor big time. So I think this is a great signing. I watched some videos. He pitched in the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Didn't get to pitch in the 2023 one because of an elbow injury. But yeah, he's a guy kind of like a nasty slider. He's able to spot it, throws the fastball top of the zone. How about this? I wish the Twins would have done it. Like big time.
Yes. Because I think that's the part. Like when you say any pitcher for 1 year is a good deal, like, okay, whatever.
1 year, 13. I mean, the number 13 is like, what's a fourth or a fifth starter now is 17.
Sure.
$18 million.
But I think the part that can even bolster your case here, like there is upside here, and whether that's just a new pitcher that can clearly pitch. Like this guy's gotten a lot of outs before.
Yes.
So I'll go into a Nicky Cass character sketch for a little bit. Like, I know he throws the different pitches and he gets out, but we can't measure location or, a 3-2 count and all that stuff. But like, genuinely, this guy's pitched and he's won every award. He's done everything that I'd like to think that there's more in there than just his spin rate. And I think we saw that from Shota last year. Obviously different pitchers. I mean, Shota's a lefty, but this guy has gotten professional hitters out for years. And I think the other thing that maybe we haven't figured out yet is I believe overseas they still have a different approach. Like they still value putting the ball in play a little more, that getting strikeouts is harder. That I think we've seen some of these pitchers come over and are like, wait, you're still going to take that swing with 2 strikes on you? Then I'll just punch your ticket. That for 1 year, $13 million, this guy could have a massive 24-25 season that you're right. I mean, any team at this price should have been willing to take this risk. I think it's just the question in Baltimore right now is how much of this is, to show Corbin Burns or Jack Flaherty or the other pitchers out there, like, we don't need you. We'd still love to sign you, but we're not going to give you that extra year. We're not going to add that extra $1 million. You wonder if that's a part of it, or, do the Orioles think that this guy is the difference maker? But yeah, Trev, like your Twins example, any fan base should have seen this signing pop up and go, ooh, 1 year, 13, and he might just click.
Some of the numbers, he walked 16 hitters in 156 and 2/3 innings last year. 16.
Right.
It's on the sheet here now, 2.6% walk rate. That's pretty good.
That's good.
That's the best in all of baseball last year. Right. Would not have beaten that. So, I don't think what you said is true. I don't think this is like, hey, Corbin Burns, F you, we got this guy. I think it's more like, look, we're doing it. We're bringing in more people. We're ready to go. Come be the guy that puts us over the top. Corbin Burns obviously was there last year. He understands everything that's going on in that organization. But yeah, I mean, the more and more I look at it, the more I'm like, come on, Twins.
Yeah.
Like, so many teams could have used this guy.
Eflin, Grayrod, Dean Kremer, Sugano, and then our guy Trevor Rogers, who got traded last year. Remember that was Let's see where he's at.
Don't forget Suarez.
Young Cade Povich doing his Max Fried impression, and then our guy, big Al Suarez, Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells, both recovering from injuries, and God, those guys were so good for them when they were taken off. We did a little bit of this, but okay, this is nice, Orioles, and you pair this with something else and we'll be excited, but you got to pair this with something else, man. Sugano's the third highest paid bird. Eflin, Tyler O'Neill, Sugano.
Yeah, I mean, they have to go out and get another starting pitcher. And there's guys still available.
And Trev, the other game that I love to play, and I think we're going to do it at the end of the offseason, it's the would you rather, and it's like, I mean, Sugano 1 year 13, Tyler O'Neill is 15, I believe. So that's a $28 million per year bid. Like, I think it's just going to be interesting at the end of this offseason, that $28 million. Could that have been, insert name here, could that have been Max Fried? Or would you rather have Sugano and Tyler O'Neill? So that's what's interesting with how you're spreading out your money a little bit. Where were you going? I cut you off a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, I was dealing with my dog chewing wires.
Yeah, you're going to have that for a little bit.
It might get electrocuted.
You're going to have that for a little bit.
Probably not a good thing.
How are we peeing? Are we peeing everywhere?
No, she's doing great. We've been
nice
doing the crate training thing. I've been waking up to take her out in the middle of the night, which is fun.
Yeah,
but we're training right now.
Yeah, so God, so dang cute.
Just cute
puppies. You got your kids.
We have like coyotes and like mountain lions and like owls. And like a lot of things that want to eat her. So we have to I'm out there taking her to the bathroom in my expansive backyard.
Yeah.
And, I'm like ready to go.
I like that.
I might have to fucking fight a coyote.
Everyone in the comments, comment your favorite animal, your favorite bird of prey.
Dude, owls are vicious. Don't let them, they're cute everywhere. Yeah, right, dude. I've seen them snatch up rabbits, dude.
Yeah, and I always get sucked into those, like, there'll be some owl content on Instagram that's like, this is what an owl's legs really look like, and you're like, whoa.
They're huge, dude. Owls are massive.
Odd creatures.
They can spin their head around 360.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Big eyes. Nice set of hooters you got there. Today's episode is sponsored by Cushy Dreams. It's officially the holiday season. We've got Christmas. Hanukkah's coming up after Christmas. We looked that up before the show. And then pitchers and catchers. Cushy Dreams is the finest in legal cannabis, and they've got our favorite edibles, the best Delta 9 THC gummies. They're legal too, and they ship directly to you. Delta 9 THC gummies contain the same active THC as the stuff they only sell at the dispensaries. Euphoric and delicious. They come in strawberry, sour watermelon, green apple, and tangerine. Since you're a John Boy Media fan, you get the deal of the year. Take 30% off all of the D9 gummies and the entire store from now until Christmas Day with code JOHNBOYTHC. 3 winners receive $100 Cushy Dreams credit. Each order over $50 qualifies as an entry. Winners chosen at random and contacted by 12/31. Offer ends on Christmas Day. Get in now. We do a lot with Cushy Dreams on our JJTV channel, and I think there's a lot of people that like to cushy it up with us. So hope you do too. Trev, and I don't know, I was going to go for the segue and say there's a lot of pitchers that have been cushy dreaming because just trying to get through rehab and stuff like that. I don't know. Pitchers are still getting hurt a ton. And there's, like we said at the top of the show, our guy, Brother Jeff, is trying to get to the bottom of it. And I think it starts with prevention of injuries, because that's been shown to be, if you get injured, you're more likely to get injured. And the way that kids are now getting hurt, I mean, is this baseball's new steroids? Like the biggest lurking issue in the sport that needs to be addressed now, because it's only going to get worse and worse. Trev, you said you reached out to some people in the industry. I guess what do we got?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't read the articles, Brother Jeff has, I believe, contributed to an article kind of talking about MLB's research into this. And then he has another article, like his 5 biggest takeaways from their research paper. And essentially, yeah, like baseball is trying to figure this out, because, pitchers are some of the biggest assets in all of baseball. I mean, Manfred was just talking somewhere like in a creepy like conference room where he was sitting on one side of the table talking about, it was a weird, like,
okay,
Rob, you and I have come a long way. I think you've done some things for the game that I like. We've had our differences. But he was talking about how they need to get the pitching marquee matchups back. And that's the guy you see on the broadcast the most. And that was what drummed up a ton of interest, back in the day. So they want to bring that back. We've talked about that on the show before. But now pitching is being used differently. And I've talked about this too, about teams aren't looking for workhorse guys more because they don't exist, because guys get hurt. And now it's more of like, well, because they're going to get hurt and because it's effective to switch out pitchers before the third time through the order, we're seeing just, instead of 3 pitchers a night, we're seeing 5. We're seeing 6 pitchers a night. Now, this article is mainly about the injuries and what they've become. And, we're just seeing what seems like more and more pitcher injuries come throughout the year, and it coincides with a lot of things. It coincides with the uptick in velocity, the chasing of velocity, if you will. So I reached out to my good buddy, old minor league teammate, roommate, JP Martinez, now pitching coach for the San Francisco Giants. He's one of the most prepared, smart dudes you're ever going to meet. He gave me his ID back in the day. Did I use it a couple times? Maybe. Shout out Metairie, Louisiana, where he's from. So I said, hey, man, can you just peruse this article for me and kind of give me your insights on it? And he did, and it was very elaborate, which I expected from him. And so I kind of just wanted to touch on a few of these things. And the main gist of this research paper and the articles, we're talking about velocity chasing and then early season injuries. So he talks a little bit about that, and then kind of how he thinks that we can avoid those things. So he kind of I'm not going to go verbatim with what he said, but I'll kind of give some of the bullet points. We talked about the loss of the ban of sticky stuff, or the attempted, I guess, ban of sticky stuff, and the pitch clock. And in their research paper, I don't think there's enough data out there to really decide if that's a contributing factor yet or not. JP believes that without the sticky stuff, he said the forearm must increase grip pressure and it fatigues sooner. They're the same muscles that absorb force and help protect your UCL. So if those are fatiguing and they're not able to protect your UCL, well, yeah, then he thinks that it definitely could be a contributing factor. I've been on record as saying we don't care about sticky stuff as long as it doesn't increase performance. So I think that is one major step that needs to happen. Let's figure out a tackified ball. Let's figure out a substance that doesn't increase spin rate but increases grip. I think that's a no-brainer, and JP seems to agree with that. Another thing they really, really talked about was the ramp up, like spring training and off-season. And, I know a lot of people probably aren't familiar with off-season throwing programs, but it varies from guy to guy. And typically, I know teams are more involved now than ever, but when you go into the off-season, you're kind of you're gone. You work with your own people. You're in your own gym. Like I said, more and more now teams are involved with decisions and kind of give plans. Pitchers are different than hitters. Hitters kind of just go off. Pitchers should have a pitching plan. But again, it's like guys kind of do their own thing. They do what they think is best. JP says, any good pitching coach knows that the most injuries happen in the first 3 months of the season. Guys either don't spend long enough building medium intent volume before moving into high effort throwing, or they shut down for too long and don't ramp up in time for spring training. They try to go hard and show out their stuff and they get dinged up. That's what, that's been an issue with guys like Blake Snell, who doesn't have a spring training, trying to find it and come into the regular season. Pitchers need this ramp up time. And JP specifically cites like medium intent. It's hard for guys to do medium intent when they're trying to make a team, right? So the medium intent has to come. It should come in spring training.
Right.
But guys are looking at the data now, and medium intent doesn't let you make the team. So I don't know if that means medium intent needs to come in the off season, which means less time for shutdown, which means more throwing. I think really what I take away from that is there's nowhere to go. As long as we're looking at spring training numbers and taking them seriously, and we're looking at data and spin rate and velo and saying, and we're chasing that for our guys that want to be on the roster, this is going to be a continuous thing. There's no way really around that, right? Like if you're going to try to make a team, you're going to go 70%. There's no way, right?
Trev, it's where there's not a solution for velo. And people might laugh at this because I'm going to start off in a weird place. But for how much of a kook ball I am, I'm pretty good. I always say I'm the best person to go apartment shopping with because I'm very logical on like, what are your needs? Like, do you care about your work commute? Do you need laundry in the apartment? Are you looking for like? I instantly kind of. It clicks on and it's like, this works or this doesn't work. So when finding a solution for this, the velo thing, there's nothing, man. Because if we put in
I don't think it's the velo thing, though. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think it's trying to be your best in spring training when you're not necessarily ready to be your
right.
best.
But Trev, you've talked about this a lot. When like for a roster, how many of the spots are actually known? Of the 26 spots?
A lot, but I think relievers in general, that's probably the most up for grabs roster spot.
Absolutely. And that's where guys are just going to try to throw the ball harder and gets out. And again, that should translate to velo. It's also the off-speed pitches, but I just feel like every year we see a couple relievers pop, and it's like, wow, that guy's got nasty stuff now, and then it kind of goes away. And you could tell in relievers' deliveries, you could tell in their motion. Like, again, I hope I'm horribly wrong about this. My guy Luke Weaver broke out last year, and he's got this kind of unique windup where his lower half is moving really slow, and then he whips it in there. After years of being a starting pitcher, and hey, maybe those years of building him up as a starting pitcher is going to have him built to be nasty for the next 8 years. I would love that. But it's also the body adjustment, and I was really intrigued what you were talking about from the travel and the recovery time, because that's interesting to me. But we still just have a situation. Dude, you talked about it with Sugano. We're measuring his numbers, his spin rate, his velo. That's where it's at nowadays. That if you're trying to make it to the big leagues, like your livelihood depends. If you never get that 1 year of $800K, never mind making it to the years where you start getting paid millions or whatever, that changes your life trajectory. That the risk is so worth it. Because I'm just going to sling 91 up there and never get out of AA? Like, no.
No, I think we're going to get there. And I think that's the overall point of this. but I want to go over kind of what the article was talking about, how to figure out injuries, because the next thing he talks about, he goes, I don't think chasing velo and stuff is a big factor in the big leagues. And the reason he gives is these guys are grown men. Like, they're developed. He goes, I know it could be a major problem in athletes that have not fully developed physically. Pitchers that haven't hit puberty, young guys, or not taking care of themselves during their time in college. These guys are still growing. And they're trying to chase the velo at that point where, like, look, I'm no doctor, but I do know that you can really strengthen your muscles and get them bigger and bigger and bigger, and your tendons can't really follow along with your muscles. So you can be crazy strong and you're doing all these things and your tendons are like, dude, like, can't really keep up here. And that's the issue. So JP doesn't think that once you're physically developed that you can increase your velo if you do it the correct way. He doesn't think that's a problem. You know, going to what you just talked about. I mean, I'm in the youth baseball game now. I mean, granted, it's 9-year-olds, but I still see it, man. I still see every parent, you know, their kids going to lessons like, you know, 3 times a week. They're playing on 2 different travel ball teams plus a regular season. Like, they're just playing too much. It's too much right now. We'll get into that. He says something that doesn't get talked about enough, and I think you kind of alluded to this with Weaver there, was certain pitchers trying to throw certain pitches that don't agree with their anatomy and how they move or how their delivery works best. He says an example would be a high slot or pronation heavy guy throwing a sweeper, or a supination heavy guy trying to pronate a changeup or a splitter. So we have all of the biometrics are there. These guys, you know, they get in front of these cameras. They'll put like they'll go into the lab, take their shirts off, and set everything up. So now they know how their bodies work. Like, the good organizations do this. You know, I talked to Joe Ryan about this and how he developed his changeup, and he's like, well, my arm slot I thought was low, but it's really, you know, my fingers are above the ball. And so, like, you understand these guys. The good organizations know what's going to work with certain players and what's not. But I think guys are like, man, like, I need to be able to throw this pitch. And if it doesn't agree with your body, then yes, that's when injuries will come. He says pitches should be fit to how a pitcher moves best. And I'm not sure even half of the teams are doing a good job with this. Like, that's interesting, right? Like, we now think that every team is doing it the right way and we're hiring all these guys, but it's not the case. And I've been around, and there are organizations that are much better at this than others. So I think that is a very interesting point by him, where, like, yeah, you need to know how you throw the ball. He says modern workload management strategies is a new boogeyman and kind of a throwaway term similar to analytics. He goes, some teams do a really good job with individualizing info for each player and some don't. Some teams manage workloads intelligently and individualize it to the player, and most don't. And I think that's another really good point with people, just kind of like we were talking about the last point. Everyone's different. Like, you go watch pitchers pitch, they're all different, man. It's like hitters with their batting stances. Like, everyone is different. Your bodies move different. And it takes a lot of time and resources to really individualize reports for every player. But if you want to curb injuries, I mean, that's something that you have to do. My take on all this. My take on all this is big leaguers are big leaguers. And yes, I agree with you that, like, Tyler Glasnow went on the Rose rotation and talked about exactly what you were talking about, where it's like, hey, I'm trying to get a shot here. I'm trying to separate myself, get into college. And how do you do that? Well, I got to throw harder. My stuff's got to be nastier. And then I want to get drafted and play pro ball. So how do I do that? Well, I got to throw harder. I got to be nastier. And then I want to get out of A ball to the big leagues. I got to throw harder. I want to make more money when I get to the big leagues. And it's this thing. It just doesn't freaking stop. So there is, and Brother Jeff has found this out, and it's got to feel like crazy for him. There's no solution. There isn't. I don't care who thinks they have a solution. There isn't a solution. There is not. If you're going to continue to reward this, and look, velo, it's it is a PED, essentially. Like, the ability to make mistakes with added velo and still get results that's why people do it. Like, it's the room for the margin for error is so much greater when you have the velocity. That's why people are chasing it. So it's similar to like when we're talking about, well, hey, for a while, teams were rewarding hitters for their power. So like we saw guys swinging for the fences and it was all about slug and contact rate. Who gives a shit? Like, let's just hit homers. Until you change the reward system, guys are just going to chase whatever the reward is. That's the bottom line, dude. How many times do I say it on this show? People are playing to get paid, dude. Right. Like, the love of the game, when you become a professional, it's there. You better love it. But like, there's something more than that. Like, you're trying to provide for your family. It's a freaking job, dude.
Yes.
So if the way to make more money at your job and provide for your family is velocity and chasing this stuff, people are going to continue to do it forever. Now,
it's a job that the average person who is able to get that job, which is a very non-average person, Trev, their average career is 3 years now. Is that where we're sitting?
I don't know. Something like
that. It's always in that range that, like, I don't have an answer, man. And the kids stuff is so messed up. But okay, I want to make the middle school team. Well, are they going to take the kid who throws 65 or the kid who throws 52? Okay, I want to play AAU ball. Are they going to take the kid who throws 75 or take the kid who throws 61? And then, okay, it's high school ball. Are they going to take the kid who throws 73 or the kid who throws 82? Okay, it's junior college. Are we going to take the kid who throws 88 or the kid who throws... Like, it's endless. Frankie Montas got paid a bag because he still has arm talent.
When I first came up, I played with several guys that threw like 100 miles an hour that barely ever cracked the big leagues. Now you're going to go to the big leagues no matter what. Like, they're going to figure it the freak out. Jim Hoey.
Jim Hoey.
Yeah.
Big Jim Hoey, huh?
Couldn't throw strikes. We threw 100.
Right.
But he barely pitched because they were like, well, you can't pitch. Like, you're not effective with it.
Right, but now with all that biomechanical stuff, you can, in 3 bullpen sessions, they say, well, when your foot lands here, you throw a strike. Okay, let me do that. And they used to not have that.
Jim Hoey, Pat Light's another one that I played with who just threw cheese, but like couldn't get guys out. Like, it's changed now. Like, hey, we'll figure it out. You throw that hard, we'll figure it out. Before it was like, hey, man, like, we got this guy that can get guys out. Let's get him up there. And it's changed. There's so many ways to go here. But again, I think the overall take here is there's nothing you can do. The only thing. So, okay. The only thing I think you can do is expand rosters and make mandatory rest days. Yes. I think that's the only thing that you can do because JP, Major League Pitching Coach, says there's no such thing as overuse, only incorrect use over time. No such thing as overwork, only under recover. So if you had expanded rosters for like relievers or whatever, and say a guy threw X amount of pitches or X amount of innings, mandatory 3 days off. Like, that would change the injury reports. It would. Now, it changes the game. People may not like that. I understand. But if you have time to recover, then the injuries would go down. Is that ever going to happen? I don't know, man. Does it solve the problem of the youth game and these guys trying to make it? Absolutely not. Unless every single league adopted big-time rest days. And it's not pitch count, it's recovery time. Then maybe we could see a light at the end of the tunnel. That is a big ask for a lot of people. It's probably never going to happen. But, I mean, that's coming from a guy that's at the top of the field, man.
Yeah, I think the closest thing I have to something to try for now would be like regular Monday off days, kind of like the minor leagues does, that then it becomes more on the team to, like, you have a natural bullpen rest day coming. You You can get an extra day for your starter if you need it. Again, that starts to get tricky because are you stretching out the season? Are you taking games out of the schedule because we know how ugly that can get? Are you making spring training shorter? But we just said we need more of a spring training buildup. That I don't know. And
one off day doesn't do it though. I know what you're saying, and I get that. And I think a lot of players want that regular Monday off day.
Right.
And I think that makes sense. Like I'm actually on board with that, but this isn't going away unless something drastic happens. And you know what? I don't think the powers that be care.
Not really, right? And
really.
The drastic, I mean, none of the drastic stuff even makes sense. Like, okay, a pitch clock, that was drastic, but it was like, okay, if this speeds up the game and it feels okay. Like, I don't know. The pitch limits and stuff you're mentioning, rosters, like we just know teams are going to abuse those. And it might even
pitch limits, mandatory rest days. That's mandatory. We call it mandatory recovery days.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like Little League has that, and I don't know. Like kids are still getting hurt, right? So you can so if I throw 59 pitches instead of 60, I can pitch in 3 days instead of 4. Like I don't know, man. I don't know.
I came on here wanting to bag on these facilities that just like train velo farms. Don't you guys have a velo farm?
I am a velo farm.
You are the velo farm. I wanted to bag on those places, but dude, they're just offering a service that people want. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's harmful. I came across an article because, every single big leaguer is like, hey, have your kid play different sports. I truly do believe in that. So if you're a parent listening, I truly believe that if you want your kid to play at the next level, he needs to learn like really good footwork. Now, can you specialize and just have him do a bunch of, footwork drills like at a baseball camp? Sure, I guess. But go let him play soccer and have fun with his friends, and he'll learn the exact same thing. That's why I think different sports matter, because the movements that you gain from different sports, the strength that you'd gain from football, the footwork you gain from soccer, all these things make you a well-rounded athlete. People will come out and say, well, actually the best thing to do is specialize your kids. That's going to give them the best leg up. I guess, but he's also going to be kind of I don't want to say the L word.
Okay. Don't make your kid like that, man. Take shots at kids at the end of the episode.
I don't know where we ended with this, but it's a very interesting subject. Go check the articles out. I know people have strong feelings on this, and I think my main conclusion is there ain't nothing we can do, Pop.
I texted Passan. I said pitchers getting hurt a lot. He said your analysis game has leveled up. I said, how do I fix it? He said, read the arm and stop taking Roman. So I'll work on that. I had something I missed on Sugano before we close. Same exact birthday, 10/11/89. Couple, me and Sugano. So a couple guys living very different simulations, yet we both ended up here. Not that different, right? Eight all-star games over there.
Shout out JP. Thanks for the info, my guy.
Thanks, JP. Big sucks. We'll talk to you guys. Maybe Monday. There might be a what do you want under the Christmas tree? There might be voicemails. Check out our tweets and Instagrams for that. Or if there's some breaking stuff. I mean, we're just kind of...
No one's breaking news.
I don't want to say built different, but not built the same.
We look the same today.
The same. F-Boys Anonymous.